I'm delighted to be here this afternoon after zipping out to Mobay to be at the Teachers College biannual conference this morning and then making it back to be here. And if you see me leave right after I speak, it's because we have Parliament today at 2 o'clock. So I have to zip downtown. But, or downtown, right? Okay. All right. I have to run downtown. But nevertheless, I am delighted to be here. And let me just say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me specially recognize Mr. Milton Samuda, one of the organizers of this conference. Let me recognize all the principals in the room. Let me see you. Yeah. All the teachers in the room. Yes. Woo. Wonderful. Let me just say, Mr. Dunn, thank you so much for your many years of work and of service to the education sector in terms of the donations that you have been making over these many years. Many apologies, I'd like to say, for any inconvenience you may suffer trying to help the education sector. I know, and you mentioned NET, the National Education Trust. It is our entity within government that helps to bring in, helps donors to bring in items that are specifically targeted for our schools. And I know over the last 2 or so years since I have been at the ministry, I have watched them, and they have been a dedicated team helping wherever they can, however they can, or donors who are so anxious to bring things in for our schools. And so to the extent that you may experience any setbacks in the future, please reach out to me before you ship that container, please, because a lot of persons who are eager to donate to Jamaica, to the education sector, they pack up the barrel, they pack up the trailer, the container, and it's only when they get to Jamaica that we're knowing. And then it's a little bit too late, really, for us to really roll out the red carpet and help you. So please, I stand ready. The NET team is ready. Let us know. We don't want you to stop at all. We are here to make it seamless, to do some hand-holding of all our donors to the education sector. All right, so let me just repeat again that I am delighted to be at the Z Technologies Cybersecurity and Data Protection Conference. It used to be that a lot more parents who wanted their children to secure a steady career would tell them to go to medical school or law school. No disrespect to lawyers and doctors. These are still very good careers, very lucrative careers. However, today there are a whole host of other appealing professions for students that include cybersecurity, robotics, data analytics, and data analytics is where you are able to take large amount of data and make sense of it for the client or whoever is in need of it. I tell students that they need some superpowers for the world of tech, whether they go in the direction of cybersecurity or other areas. And these superpowers, usually I zero in on 4 of them. 1, curiosity. And I say to students, if somebody had not wondered why we can't fly many decades ago, we probably would not have had the luxury of air travel now. And there are a whole host of inventions that we have today that started as questions in the minds of curious individuals. And so we want our students to grow up being curious. And for me, that's a superpower that I encourage them to have. I say another superpower that our students should have is consciousness. How often do you think you check your smartphone every day? A lot, right? There was a study done that said the average person checks their phone every 2 minutes. And the average time spent online is about 24 hours per week. Our devices distract us, unfortunately. And so I encourage students to remain conscious. It is said that learning new things, finding interesting problems, and coming up with creative solutions all require uninterrupted attention. I tell students to use their device, but stay conscious. Be the master of your device, not the slave. And then the other superpower, collaboration, working with others to produce something. We want our children in our classrooms to learn to be collaborative, because that is what the world of work requires of us. It's not the lone scientist anymore. It's being able to pull groups together when needed, where needed, and to get the job done. The ability for students to bring their friends together to work on a project or other ideas. And then the fourth superpower, creativity. It doesn't mean you have to start from scratch. You can take an existing thing or process and change how it is done. So this all brings me to today's event, data protection and cybersecurity. A company called 876 Technologies advised us recently at a similar session that the education sector is the most attacked by hackers. Why, you may ask? Is there gold in the education sector? Yes, I would say. We collect a lot of personal data in education, from early childhood through to higher education. There are about almost 1 million persons, 1 million students, children involved. And we collect personal data, their names, their addresses, their date of birth, their age, their parents, their health records. They have to be immunized before they can be registered in school. We have to collect that data, all kinds of data we collect. But the education sector is the sector that is most attacked because our awareness of cybersecurity is low, our protection in the sector is low. At the same time, while that is a fact about cybersecurity and the education sector, what's happening in education? More of our teachers and students are getting laptops and devices. We're connecting more of our schools with broadband technology. We're about 50% of the way there in our schools all across Jamaica. Yes, thank you. We have 1,010 primary and secondary schools all across Jamaica. Our vision is that every single one of them will have adequate broadband connectivity not just in the administrative offices across the campus, so it's available in classrooms. I'm not standing here to say we are there yet. We're on the way. We're upgrading all our IT labs at all our secondary schools. E-learning is our implementing agency, and they have started. Every single high school will have an upgraded IT lab, or two, or however many they have in the schools. Within the ministry itself, we have to use way more technology for efficiencies. The Ministry of Education is the largest employer within government. We process a payroll of almost 40,000 persons every month. We'd like to do a way better job of what we're doing. Yes, I'll be the first to tell you, we have been implementing the platform that will allow us to do so, but you know these large implementations, they take time. But we're uploading data onto the platform so that our teachers and others, our administrators, wherever they are in the world, they can access their personal data to find out, to query, to do things. We're beginning to increase that awareness about data protection, about cybersecurity. We're partnering with e-learning from the Ministry of Energy, Technology, Science, to have us raise the awareness across the education sector. You may or may not be aware that the Cybersecurity, the Data Protection Act, was tabled and passed in Parliament some 2 years ago while I was at the Ministry of Science, Energy, and Technology. Come December 1, we're looking at the implementation date. I'm not speaking as the Minister of Science, Energy, and Technology. I'm speaking to what I did while I was there. And now I'm at education. We have to move quickly to ensure that we are in compliance with that act when it comes into force in December of this year. It is an act that will create a new regime for data protection, personal data protection, that all of us as Jamaican citizens should become aware. We will all be known as data subjects. That will become a terminology that we'll become very, very familiar with as data subjects. We will have new rights as citizens, and the companies that collect our data will have new responsibilities to protect that data that they collect, to get certain permissions from you before they can transfer that data to others. In the education system, not only are we to implement the systems, but we have to teach our teachers and our students what does that mean for them as well. There'll be a requirement for all of our schools to be registered as data controllers. They'll have to say what it is, what kind of data they're collecting and why, how long they're going to keep it, and so on. It's going to be a requirement for all companies. Anybody, any entity that collects data. There'll be a requirement for data processors, those within our institutions that understand what it is that needs to be in place to be in compliance with the Data Protection Act. So, as I said earlier on, it's going to be a new regime, new information, new knowledge, new rights, new responsibilities. And we have to begin a heavy-duty sensitization, heavy-duty awareness across the education sector. Events such as this provide us with an important platform to share our experiences and best practices, not only to preserve the safety of our digital lives, but also to protect our technology infrastructure and national resources. Every day that we wake up, we create a digital footprint, and we add to what was there before. We have no idea how much information or what it is that's collected about us in cyberspace. We have no idea just yet what is that identity that is being pulled together by others about us in the digital space. And I'd encourage everyone to learn more. When you hear about cybersecurity, when you hear about data protection, they're not esoteric terms. They're not something out there in the future. They're not sci-fi movies. They are terminologies that we have to understand, and we have to understand what's behind them for ourselves and for the institutions with which we work. So ladies and gentlemen, let me thank the organizers of this conference. I know we need many, many more such conferences across Jamaica. And thank you for inviting me to share with you. And again, to wish you well and encourage you to continue to take this information across Jamaica, only because of what's on the horizon coming at us. Thank you so much. And Mr. Dunn, I give you my solemn commitment that you should not experience any more problems going forward with bringing in your donations. We want you to bring in as many containers as you'd like to bring in. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me thank the minister again because she has to leave. Minister, just before you leave, could we ask you to accept a token of appreciation? So while the photograph is being taken, let me just acknowledge and thank FACTS, not only our service provider, but a wonderful sponsor,